Welcome to the School of Wedding Photography. I'm here with Catalina Jean, a photographer based in Portland, Oregon. Catalina has been called one of the top 25 wedding photographers in Portland and regularly mentors photographers and speaks at workshops, including the popular Let's Go workshop. She is also an SEO educator, and we'll be speaking to Catalina a bit about that today. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us. Let's just start easy. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, totally. So my business is Catalina Jean. I've been shooting for just about 5 years. I live up in Portland, and that's where I started my business. I did something sort of stupid where I moved to a brand new city and then started a business. Now I know it can be, there's a little bit of a leg up when you have sort of a built community, but and that's why I ended up pushing into SEO and sort of efforts that were outside of, more extroverted tactics. And I became a bit obsessed and was able to really start building a ranking for a lot of keywords, even actually before I knew what SEO meant, which was kind of funny. I just kind of looked at what other websites were doing. And then once I started to rank, I was like, oh, I better figure out why I'm actually ranking. And that led me down just like a huge rabbit hole. And now it's pretty much an obsession. It's such a thick, really challenging topic that's it's actually just a lot of fun. There's a lot of strategy to it. But I live in Portland with two crazy Boston Terriers, and kind of specialize in a little bit moodier kind of outdoors sort of weddings, and just having a lot of fun. I don't know, I'm just all about almost kind of not being consistent when I shoot and just trying new techniques, always, I don't know, pushing outside the box. So, and that's been really fun. It's just kind of being able to play with photography is so important to me. So
yeah, okay. So how important has been SEO to your business?
Oh, it's been the thing that launched my whole business and continues. Now it's the backbone of it. Probably
more than social media.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time more than social media. So probably since the beginning of the year, I've probably received over 400 inquiries already, and about 70% of those are from different SEO efforts. I just sort of in recent months got a little more of a social media following, but for years it's been maybe 1,000 people, and I'd get an occasional booking from them, but it's SEO. And what I just love with SEO, you can control it so much more, and there's actual formulas and things to follow, and actually a marketing mind that goes into it a lot more. And once you sort of dig your teeth in and kind of start ranking, it starts to become much more difficult for websites to kind of come after you, especially newer websites if you have some age. So I think I have a little bit of a distrust for social media because they do like an algorithm change, and all of a sudden you're dropped and your interaction's not as high. Or there'll be a brand new social media app that will be developed, and then, all of that investment can kind of go poof. So just I imagine a lot of MySpace influencers and things like that. It was a thing. I remember there were definitely some really famous MySpace.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like models and stuff. Yeah, it was really
wow.
One of my friends, he was known as MySpace Mike because he was a little known on MySpace. So, but yeah, I think we laugh at MySpace now, but that was such a big, that was the big thing. And so when it comes to a business, I think I just have I've always wanted to, I'm very kind of nerdy and scholastic. So I took, small business courses and apply a lot of those, how to price and things, and not just guess, but actually do spreadsheets and, things like that. SEO always makes me, and I also am frustrated with it because I can't, figuring it out is kind of a funny thing. It features some people, it doesn't others. I need something that I really like formulas, and I need something that I know if I do this, this equals this, and it will continue to build and be a good investment of my time. Whereas I think I've had my Instagram account for 8 years, and it's just never been my thing. So.
Mm-hmm. So if someone is starting out with a new business, a photography business, what percentage of their sort of effort should be put into SEO, do you think?
Oh, I would say at very least like 70%.
Okay.
And it's more because I mean, if you're already creating a website, if you're already creating content, it's basically putting it out in the correct way and formulating it in the correct way. So you can put hours and hours into a website, but if it's not properly optimized for search engines, it's more of just a business card. It sits there, it's fine, but no one's going to find it unless you put it out yourself.
Mm.
So SEO to me is really interwoven pretty much in all online efforts. Even I use social media to drive traffic to blog posts, to because driving traffic to blog posts helps them rank. Um, so it's like it's all kind of a web of how that stuff works. But I just think with what it can pay off, and in our industry, a lot of people don't know SEO,
Mm.
and or, they get very confused. And I understand it's a really confusing subject, and then they give up very easily. So it actually can be a bit easy to fight your way onto the first page, because not a lot of people are posting to Instagram and they're planning out their feeds and they're trying to curate, and that's all fine. But I think people are spending a lot of time towards that, and it can. And I just when I mentor a lot of people on especially I'll mentor florists and wedding planners because it's all pretty much the same, and we'll get them on page one in a few months because it's just their competition isn't putting those efforts in.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you get on page one? Simple.
Well, do you have?
I got plenty of time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so really, page one, what Google wants to do, and Google does do algorithm changes, but Google is always looking to serve its user, and that's what makes Google the best. I mean, I think someone told me that the most searched term on Bing is Google. It's pretty good. Like that's.
That would
So
be so
Google,
dispiriting for Microsoft.
same thing with like Apple Maps. Like I'll copy, like it'll automatically open an address in Apple Maps, and I copy it and I go put it in Google Maps
Yeah.
because Google Maps is better. Or Waze. Like, you have to know your app is bad if people do
Accept
that.
it. Move on. Yeah.
Um, but the big thing with Google is, and what I think for a long time there was a lot of tricks that people would use, creating a ton of pages going after all these keyword variations that were like pumping keywords into a website. And Google has consistently knocked those pages down.
Sorry,
Because
just to question basics. What's a keyword?
a keyword, so a keyword is a search term. So it is what your potential client is searching when they are looking for services or products.
Okay.
So everyone's keywords will be different depending on your market. So, but in mine, probably my main keyword and a lot of wedding professionals' main keyword, especially at least ones that service local weddings, is I'm in Portland, so Portland wedding photographer,
Yeah.
Portland,
Okay.
Oregon wedding photographer court. There's all those variations. So that's my main location keyword that I use to target with my main homepage. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you were saying in the past people would stuff pages full of these keywords to rank. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They'd like if it was on a white background, they'd put the text in white, so you couldn't see all the keywords
I
that are being
remember that.
commented.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Google always finds those and they knock them down. So if you want to start making efforts to get on page one, you need to make your website both credible and relevant. So that's kind of the two big things, and there's factors that go into each of those things. So
Can you speak about both of those?
totally. So relevant is using proper keywords. So I'm not going to put on my homepage like Portland wedding photographer, Bend wedding photographer, Hawaii wedding photographer. To Google, that's very, very confusing. And so a user comes and searches and they're like, well, I don't know what this website is. They want to give especially for page one, they want to make sure those websites are solidly about what their customer wants.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Google the biggest search engine, is because their algorithms, how many times a week do we all Google something? I mean, it's like backbone for everything we need. And then there's credible. So credible is going to be definitely link backs, getting reviews, it's traffic to your site. It's just showing that your website it's blogging. It's showing that you have new content. going on there that's applicable to your business and your services. Yeah, so that's kind of Google wants those things, and that's a really, really topical explanation, and that's what's always a little bit tough because then you get into the real way to rank is much more analytical, and for each business can be very different, and that mostly has to do with keyword research and using good keywords. So like a lot of students I have, or I have a few in California, and I really advise them against trying to rank for like California wedding photographer. I just think if a customer in California is searching, they're going to search for their venue, they're going to search for their city, things like that. So that's probably one of the biggest things I see is even when people are blogging, they're going after keywords that are most likely not going to bring them business. They're either too vague or too specific. So there is kind of this like sweet spot. And with my students, we do a lot of keyword research, and we look at their blog posts and their shoots and go, okay, what's being searched? We go on Google. That's one of the biggest things. It's funny. I thought a lot of people were actually going on Google and searching a search term when they blogged to kind of check it out. And a lot of my students will be like, oh, so you actually Google the search term. I'm like, oh, absolutely. Because I can see what's on there, who's ranking, and get an idea. If there's really like almost no other photographers ranking, that's not necessarily a good thing because it means it's just too specific of a keyword. There's certain beaches and stuff here that even if you do a shoot there, you may want to target a different area with it because it's pretty, a beach shoot can kind of look like most of the Oregon coast. Yeah. And you can use it to target a better area that people are actually searching. So, so that's really, really broad strokes for people, but it's really about great content. I think some of the major pitfalls I see people use that are really hurting their rankings is splash pages. So, when you initially go to a website and it's like enter, it looks really beautiful, but those are really destructive to SEO efforts because SEO can only really sees words, image titles, anything you write in, it can't see an image. So to that, it just looks like a photo and a button. And that's your very first landing page should be for your main keyword. And then also not having text on a homepage is something I see a lot. I know I like a really minimal homepage, but having some good text on that front page, including your keyword naturally, things like that is really important. And then slow websites. Slow websites is killer too. And we're photo websites. We already have such heavy websites that it's really important. And there's a speed test. It's called Pingdom Speed Test. Yeah. Plug your website into there because your website's going to load faster for yourself because you've already been there. It caches it for you. But yeah, check it out on there, and it should really be under like 3 seconds of a load time. But those are like 3 really big examples of you could be blogging, you could even have good keywords, but if like those 3 things aren't, splash page, no text, or a slow website are just going to really like destroy hours of effort.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now I'm thinking, let's say in Portland, we've got 100, 200 wedding photographers. And they all want to rank for Portland wedding photographer. And they all basically have, essentially from Google's point of view, this is what I'm imagining, they have the same content, which is a lot of imagery. Mm-hmm. How do you sort of step through that? How do you rise to the top if you're basically competing with the same things?
Exactly. So, those things I mentioned help. So say we have 100 Portland wedding photographer websites. Say 30 of them have really slow load times. They drop off competition. Okay. Say another 10 have those splash pages. And say another 40 have no text, because that's probably one of the most common things I see. Blogging using like the couple's name. Like I'll see, I'll see links that it's like, oh, this photography / like Bob - Katie. Like Google does not give a crud about Bob and Katie. I'm sorry, like it's hard, but I see that a lot of using like the couple's name. So that actually will push down. So even just making those, and there's a few other things too that are sort of killers.
Instead of couple's name, what are you using? Is it the venue or the city or both?
Your target keyword. So
Yeah.
And this is a
Okay.
little bit of a thing, yeah. So say my target keyword you have, so your website is sort of this, um, this web. It's of different pages. So you have your main page, the starting page or home page. Um, that most likely is going to target your location-based keyword. So like Portland wedding photographer. If you're a barbecue restaurant, Portland, downtown Portland barbecue. Things like that. That's what you want there. And then you have these like other pages that come off. That can be blog posts, that can be resource pages. So I go for Portland wedding photographer only on my main web page. Then if I have a blog post, say at this local venue that I really love, then my target keyword is most likely the venue. So like Union Pine wedding, because I think a lot of couples are going to look up their own wedding venue and they'll see images on Google, or they'll find the blog posts. That's like a ton of the referrals I get. Probably more than half are from the location based keyword that are finding my homepage,
Yeah.
and then others are these secondary. And it can be like I wrote a blog post. So there's a lot of weddings at Portland parks here. We have some really beautiful parks. So I wrote this resource like, hey, best Portland parks for weddings. So now when anyone searches Portland Park wedding and they're interested in that, they see a resource. I got that very quickly on page one. And it's like, oh, cool. This here's a list of best Portland parks for weddings. And I wrote it from a photographer aspect. I included like the price, capacity, just the ones I thought were best. So you can also blog weddings, but I'll also write resource pages after doing some keyword research. And it just took a little bit like, we have a lot of venues at Portland weddings. Or Portland parks. How can I get something on page one of some main search terms for people that are starting, that journey of booking a Portland park for their wedding?
Yeah. Yeah. And then once they land on your site, how do you keep them there?
Well, definitely actually solid content. That's a big one. Also, every page for me, when you scroll to the bottom, it gives you further things to look at, basically. So it's like a little carousel. So say they were looking at a Portland Park wedding and they're like, oh, I'd love to see more from this photographer. Oh, and they can just little carousel and they're like, oh, there's like one in a forest. That looks like my venue, or, it looks like a Portland forest because we have a lot of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they can get an example. But yeah, it's good content. And then I'm all about, you need to give customers a next step on your website. I see that very frequently with blog posts as people scroll down, and there's kind of nothing there to take them somewhere else. And then they have to like scroll all the way back, to the very top, to see to go somewhere. And then they have to go like back to the portfolio, and it's like, give them kind of a natural progression,
Through the site.
yeah, through your website to dig into your work a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I guess I'm wondering about people that are sort of purposefully not marketing themselves to a local area, so they're trying to be a destination wedding photographer, for example.
Yeah.
How can they have a hope of reaching page one?
Totally. So that is definitely a little more nuanced and would depend on the areas they want to break into. Also, if they do have a home base, I think most people are they want maybe like, even if they're destination, they don't want to be like all destination. But I do know some people who are, and I have someone I'm going to be mentoring, and yeah, she is all destination. She's just constantly on the road. And for me, that's where blog posts become really, really important, because then you can target really specific areas. So I recently came across a blog post, and there's this beautiful place in Oregon, and they hadn't shot there yet, but they basically scouted the location and talked about why it was such a great location for an elopement. And if you search that beach, I think it's Hug Point. If you search Hug Point elopement, they're like the second top there. And I think that really serves a customer very well. To have this, they just wrote all this great information of what they loved about it. So there's writing a good resource. And if you're already shooting a lot of destination, if you actually keyword, if you did shoot an amazing wedding in Isle of Skye, it's using that proper keyword and not Bob and Katie,
Yeah.
to continue like, okay, put that out there, also get it featured so you can get a link back, get that work out there. I
Is
know a
that is
lot of
that still an important thing for SEO, getting link backs?
the most, or one of the top, and
Yeah.
it's because it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's one that's, it's easy to put image titles in. It's easy to do some alt text. It's, those things are attainable, but Google loves that one because you got to work for it. And not spammy. You used to be able to like sign up for websites that would like, you could pay and they'd like get you a bunch of spam links basically. And that
Yeah.
used to work. But again, anything that's a trick of Google is they're going to eventually catch on. So yeah, link backs are incredibly important, and I really encourage people to go after them. I know when I first started in wedding photography, I got like, I got a wedding on green wedding shoes, and this is before I understood SEO, and I was like, oh, here come the bookings. I just thought that
Yeah.
was such a big deal, and that's, as we all know, that's not quite usually how
Yeah.
features work. So, but they are, and that's why when I teach, I kind of say that it's more of a web. It's not, oh, I got featured on green wedding shoes, no inquiries, failure. It's like, no, you were featured on green wedding shoes. They put your work on Pinterest. They get you link back for SEO. They're getting click throughs to your website. And if you're booking from SEO, then, that's part of that success.
Yeah.
It's not as linear as more, it's a bit part of a building block. But yeah, incredibly important. I encourage people, even if vendors are, I'm really open-handed with photos with vendors, and it's because I do get link backs, but I will double check websites and stuff if they've used my photos to be like, hey, is it cool if you go ahead and add that link there? It really helps with SEO. I'll make sure to shout you out too on my site, so you get the link juice as well. But yeah, incredibly important.
Yeah. Okay. You said something before about creating blog posts that were useful for the client or for the couple. So how important is that, sort of creating something that's of value, not just sort of pushing out your content, but actually creating valuable posts?
It all depends on, because you have to take almost like a step back in a way, and have a sort of a marketing goal and have keywords that support those goals, and then you create content to support those keywords. So of course, providing great content is great, and I think there are sometimes you can just write an article that's going to be a good service for like your current clients. How to make a wedding timeline, things like that. That might show in search results, and who knows, you might get a booking from that. So great example, like how to make a wedding timeline. So maybe instead of putting that, if you want to, because again, I'm just obsessed SEO. I just like that's all I see. So if you write this really great article, shop it around to blogs and be like, hey, I wrote this article on, perspective of how to make a wedding timeline with photography thought of, and blogs love when you write their content for them, so they'll love to give you a throwback for that. So, but yeah, pretty much my website, all of the content I write, although it is a service to users and I want to write great content, it always has an SEO goal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, if people want to get in touch with you for SEO advice, consulting, how can they do that?
Well, they can do that. If it's easier to find, just my wedding photography site, that's catalinajean.com. But I did launch something called SEO is Fun, and that will be at seoisfun.co. And that's going to be, right now there is a masterclass that they can take with me, and it includes me going into the back end of their website, optimizing things. And then the first meeting, we'll just sit down and learn what SEO is, really take a look at their market and really get a plan going. Then they're given homework and I kind of like kick them out into the cold and be like, okay, now make a blog post with these SEO rules without my guidance. And then in our second meeting, we go over it and see how they did and see how if they're going about it with the right frame of thinking. Eventually on SEO is Fun, this is all going to be online classes for people that, maybe I love the one-on-one, because I think some people, they just want to be able to get it done. And sometimes an online class, they're like, oh, I'll just put it off. But for those who would love self-paced, self-taught versions, there'll be online classes on there. And there's going to be just like a newsletter and a blog, which is tips. Google is constantly changing things, and there's just layers and layers to ideas for link building. Like that's definitely a big hobby of mine right now is figuring out different, we can submit for features, but there's a lot of different ways to build links. But yeah, so that's all at SEOisfun.co.
Okay. Outside of SEO, what, or maybe not outside, but thinking outside as well, what 2 or 3 things do you think have most contributed to where your brand is now, your business?
Vendor relationships has been huge. I'm really big on just cheering vendors on. So I get the vendor list before my wedding so I can see everybody that's on it. And I just reach out and say hi. I always send vendors the sneak peeks. And if there is, a florist or a baker, I'll include a photo of the cake. My bride will love to see, or my couple would love to see anything. But I'll include that because I know they'd really like that for their Instagram. When I follow up, I always make sure they get full galleries and just want to be looking out. And that's gotten me on a lot of preferred lists. And that's been big. And it's really fun to work with your friends. It's fun to show up to a wedding and be like, oh, hey, we all know each other.
Yeah.
That's been really huge. Also just networking with other photographers and making friends. Like going to conferences and getting drunk has gotten me a lot of fun. Which sounds weird, but it's more, and I shouldn't say that's the goal because that's not the goal. That's now everyone's gonna listen and be like, you just want to be friends. No. But it ended up being a surprise. I just went to conferences and workshops because I was lonely and working, by myself, probably talking to my dogs too much. And then, after some years, I just built these amazing friendships with just great people, and not only with, we give work back and forth. And that's what I love with SEO because I have so many inquiries. I can just give them out to my friends. I can give them to newer photographers who are really talented. And I love that like open-handed. Yeah. But having photographer friends, when you run into maybe a difficult client situation and they can help talk you through it, or an editing problem and they're there, or you just travel and you bring a travel buddy. I frequently, a lot of these people live across the country, but I'll be like, hey, I have a wedding in Mexico. You want to go? Like, I'll get you a plane ticket and then we can hang out. So you're not in Mexico by yourself.
Yeah.
It's been, that's been huge. So other than SEO, I think that's the other one I really, really invest in. And it's more so, it's just so cool to know other small business owners. I love that I'm just surrounded by these incredibly talented people who constantly impress me. And I think that's, something that always stuck with me. You kind of are the company you keep as well. And I always want to be moving forward, and I hope I can be an encouragement. And it's been cool. I've just noticed how much faster I started to grow as a photographer when I started getting connected with these people. Yes, and just feeling so much confident. And they just we all get down. We all of a sudden hate all of our work and we want to throw our computer out. And they're there to kind of help talk you through it. So it's really community based. It's like I'm the big SEO nerd, but other than that, I really love building my community, and especially my local one. It's really nice to go to like vendor networking events and knowing so many people there. And I'm a really cheerleader personality type, so that's just I really love to do that. So other than SEO, I'm trying to think of anything else, but those are really, I get a lot of a lot of referrals from other photographers and from vendors.
Now, I know you do a lot of mentoring and workshops, and I guess I'm wondering, what are the sort of topics that people usually ask you at those?
Oh gosh, it's all SEO. I think, and I think it is because it is a hard topic, and there's not too many like resources out there. A lot, I do get asked to on client just experience and workflow. I have some like touch points and things I do. Like I'm really big, for example, on sending a slideshow to a client before a full gallery to kind of continue the excitement of their wedding. And it shows your best images. I think a lot of times when you throw them a gallery of like 800 images, that, those winner ones that are maybe somewhere in the portraits or that really beautiful moment get buried. So I'm big on like, how do we create, not just client experience, but really like just keep that excitement from their wedding day. You're the last person that really has this last bit to give them, from their wedding. And I just seeing some photos to music, is amazing. And I actually make them in Lightroom, and it's super easy. So I've been showing people how to do that. And I am going to, I think I'm going to, I have there's like a slideshow preset, and I'm going to create that and sell that as a product soon. It took some weird tweaking to figure it out. So I kind of just want to be like, here's an easy template to make a slideshow.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of this, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes it easy. It's not an additional plugin. It takes me maybe 10 minutes to make a wedding slideshow.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's a good time.
Yeah, it's very accessible. I think especially when you're about to deliver a wedding and it's on season, and slideshows are awesome and I love them. But I think I'm the type of person too. I'm just like so impatient. I'm like, all right, what's the quickest way I can find to do it? Yeah, randomly, accidentally found it. But yeah, I guess conferences and stuff. It's usually there's little tricks and things that I've found that beyond SEO that I love to share. That's definitely that's what my boyfriend always talks about. He's like, you can kind of really think outside the box and find these weird ways to wiggle in, and so
wiggle the hustle. Yeah,
wiggle hustle. I like wiggle hustle. Pretty much.
Now, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself if you were starting out in wedding photography again?
Oh, to be kind to yourself. I think being a photographer when you start out, is really hard. It's really hard. And to be kind, remember that it's just going to take shooting a lot to get better. That's part of it. You can watch all the online tutorials, you can do all that. And I think that can get people to a certain point, but just get out and shoot. Just find people to shoot. I really launched my whole initial portfolio was one wedding I shot for free. And then I did 4 of these just kind of bridal sessions. I got a dress at a thrift store, or a vintage shop, and then just had a florist, make a bouquet. Because I really wanted to do, it was years ago, kind of when more outdoors weddings were just started, and I knew I love the outdoors. I grew up barefoot on the Oregon coast, and but I started my whole portfolio that way. It was one wedding, and then I booked 20 weddings from that. But yeah, I just really encourage people to just get out and shoot and get weird. Don't be scared. Go look for inspiration. Yeah, exactly. Look for inspiration, but be careful how much it's comparative and pulls you down. Just try new things. Just trust your gut. I think people, if you just look at more editorial inspiration and stay away from photography or wedding photography, a lot of times, then you can see what your eye is really drawn to and not just kind of what's out in the industry. And then you will stand out if you're just being true to yourself and trusting your gut. That would definitely be what I would say, because I was definitely really hard on myself and tried to copy for a long time, and was really glad when I stopped that.
Doing that. Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
Oh, I am looking forward to. I have a wedding in Yosemite this year, finally. That's been definitely kind of a bucket list. And I'm really excited to teach it kind of happened all of a sudden. I was asked to teach at a few different conferences, ARC the Experience, Snap Photography Festival, the Funky Workshop, and then Let's Go, which is one I've been at. I love teaching. It's so much fun to help businesses, and it's really cool to just watch. It's just you can just explain some things and people's eyes light up, and these things that have been really confusing them or been hard on them, you can just in just a few minutes clear it up as being someone who's just maybe a couple steps up. And then I just have some personal travel finally. I'm gonna go to Vietnam and
Nice.
and Denmark and Sweden, so I'm excited to not bring a camera, honestly. I just want to travel. So, yeah, that'll be
Yeah, lovely. All right, Catalina, thank you for your time today. Appreciate you joining us and explaining SEO. And if people want to follow you, where can they find you online?
So mainly, as much as I just totally bashed Instagram, I am on there. I do like Instagram, I promise. I do. So yeah, online, just catalinajean.com. The Instagram for that's Catalina Jean. And then for SEO is fun is seoisfun.co. SEO is fun on Instagram.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.